Alright guys, this is going to be the last episode for the MLS Explained tutorial for Football Manager 23. I decided to go ahead and have one more episode. I've been getting quite a few comments and questions on things that I thought I covered. Maybe I didn't cover it as well. So I'm going to cover trading again. I'm going to cover the DP Contract Buydown. I'm going to cover a couple other things, and I'm also going to have some changes and additions from the tutorial videos that aren't in FM23 and a couple key factors I want you to make sure you understood. So stay tuned. It's going to be a few videos that are going to be parsed together, but hopefully it will work out just fine. So anyway, thanks for watching guys, and stay tuned. Alright everybody, the first thing I wanted to make sure that people were aware of is that in real life, St. Louis City, for whatever reason, is in the Western Conference. However, in Football Manager 23, we are in the Eastern Conference. It blows my mind. I don't understand why they did that, but you know, that it is what it is. I can't change that. Another thing I wanted to cover, in my tutorials, I said that Sacramento was the leading forerunner in becoming the next MLS expansion team, and I'm here to show you that San Diego is going to be the next one, and they debut in 2025. Now, I don't know when they're going to have it in Football Manager, but it's going to be San Diego and not Sacramento. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. One thing that I didn't cover in my videos was the League's Cup. In real life, this just changed not that long ago. And let me see here, the League's Cup. Alright, I actually just had the draw here coming up in my St. Louis City save, so it's kind of cool. The League's Cup basically is all the teams in the MLS and all the teams in Liga MX are in a tournament. Everybody's invited. Matter of fact, just for participating, you get $100,000. So if you don't win a game, you've earned $100,000 just for being in this cup. Now, there's some really cool after effects of this. Basically, Liga MX and MLS went to FIFA and said, hey, you know, the North American Champions League, while it's all cool and everything, we just don't get the money that all the other champion leagues get. And part of the reason for that is because we don't have the sponsorships that the UEFA League has or the African nations have. You know, there's only basically two countries that are going to sponsor this, and that's the USA and Mexico, because let's be honest, we're the only two countries that have a shot at winning this thing. There's a lot of other countries that participate in this, but they don't donate that much money. So we are the lowest paid Champions League in the world. So because of this League's Cup, it helps give more money to these teams that don't win the Champions League. Matter of fact, if you win the Champions League, you'll make less money than if you play and lose your first game in the FIFA Club World Cup. It's just ridiculous the amount of money that you don't get. And it's not very popular. A lot of that's because USA soccer's not that popular and not much we can do. But anyhow, the League's Cup, basically, you get $50,000 per win, and each stage you advance, you get more money. And when you win, you get $1 million. I won it last year with St. Louis City. It was really cool. We won almost $2 million in total, which is really, really good. But not only that, 3 teams make it into the Champions League this year. So they have a lot more bids on display that I didn't cover in my tutorial videos because I didn't realize that they had this in there. Now next year I'll update it and I'll have everything good to go, but I just want to make sure that you knew that the League's Cup is in Football Manager 23 this year, just like in real life. Now, in case you're wondering, it starts, let me see, my first game is July and it runs through, I think, the end of August. It's only like a month long, and it's boom, boom, boom. You have games after games after games, and yeah, doing some friendlies, but you have a lot of games, and the more you win, the more games you have. And then now I'm in the Champions League, and it's just my team's going to be really, really tired. But anyhow, the League's Cup is definitely in Football Manager 23 this year. All right, another thing I wanted to cover, just to reiterate, estimated trade values. All right, this is where you go to find out when you're trying to trade away or when you're receiving draft picks. All right, In 2025, the first round draft picks, their estimated value at $240,000 and $1.2 million. Now, as the draft gets closer and the players have all been announced on who's going to be in the draft, that could change a little bit. It could go up to $2 million. It could go, down to $200,000. It just depends on how many players are in it and whatnot. That's just the average. All right. The last player that's usually picked is usually only worth the 240. Now, the top player, the first round pick overall, is usually the one that's worth $1.2 million. All right. So just keep that in mind. It's just kind of like, hey, this is how much the picks are worth right now, so you can use that as trade bait and whatnot. So keep that in mind when you're trading. Another thing I wanted to cover is the draft dates are always here. All right. Once we get closer to the super draft, that will show up here too, and you'll know the draft dates. They're never the same. Every year they're always different, but this is where you go to find them. All right. Another thing I wanted to cover is the B team. In my videos, I said that there's the MLS Next and MLS Next Pro. In real life, they have leagues now, so your B team and your academy teams get to play other teams. They have competitions and tournaments and everything else. It's not in Football Manager 23 this year. So I apologize for that, but it's not. That means you have to do friendly matches. You have to schedule them yourself or set your staff members to do so. But just keep in mind, they will not play games unless you have friendly scheduled and unless you put them in your senior team. And we're going to cover that here in just a second. I wanted to go over, I've always harped on utilizing your B team appropriately. What that means is make sure that you play your B team players that have not full-time contracts, that have regular senior contracts. That way you can let them play with the main team. That doesn't mean you have to move them up and down. It just means you have to register them for that game. So what happens is, for the next game, I currently have 27 players registered. You want to go in here and filter your B team. And I always put unavailable and not at club. That way you don't hit the on loan players and there's less people to go through. All right. Now, oh my God, will you get off the filter? There we go. Okay. Basically, let's say I want David Bravo to play. I just click on here. And as long as this doesn't go over 6 and this doesn't go over 6, you're good to go. All right. That means that I can play that player, but they have to have a contract. You'll notice like Sergio Rivas, I can't play him because I didn't give him a contract. He has a full-time contract still. All right. So only the players that have big boy contracts basically are the ones that I can play. See, Tapia, I didn't give him one either, but I could pretty much select a lot of players as long as I'm at 30 now. All right, so these have SMS contracts, General Adidas contracts, and whatnot. All right, but that's how you do it, and then you just hit confirm, and they'll be registered for the next game. And you can do that for each game. All right, that's a better way to utilize your B team. Instead of moving players up and down, you don't have to do that. The players that I keep on my senior team are ones that have the highest potential that I want to play and get more game time coming off the bench. But every now and then I'll bring these players up and rotate them. That way they get some game time too with the senior team because it does help their development. Alright, that's pretty much all the changes and additions that I wanted to cover. Just make sure that you utilize your B team appropriately like I do. And once again, make sure that they all have senior contracts, SMS contracts, reserve contracts, General Adidas contracts, anything like that. And this is proof that you can have senior players on senior contracts in your B team, and they don't complain. Now, I am paying them a little bit too much money, and I'm going to make a lot of changes coming up here next season, but I'll get into that in my St. Louis City save. I just wanted to let you know that that's how I register my players. You have to have the room in your registration in order to do that, but usually I have room. That's why I usually only assign 27, 28 players to my senior team, and then I can bring up a couple players, and that's how I do it all year round. Okay, I'm also going to be covering trades again and designated player buydowns, and I'm going to cover a couple other miscellaneous things in different videos. So until then, just stay tuned, and I have another one coming right up. Alright guys, I wanted to cover trading one more time. Now, the way I'm going to show you, they have to have a little bit of interest. All right. Now, you can always offer out players, but unless they have a wanted tag, and just this changes weekly, man. It changes daily. All right. Thomas Amane, I'm going to offer him out. First off, he is worth 1.1 million is what my things are saying. We're going to offer to MLS clubs, and we're going to go 500,000. Just, it's a number to start with. All right, I'm also going to offer out Vargas because Portland wants him, and I'm going to go 500,000. He's worth more than that, but don't worry about it. We'll get there. Okay, I'm going to hit continue, and I'm going to have a lot of things popping up here, and I'm sorry. And he rejected. That's good. I didn't want you leaving anyway, so that works out for me. Okay, nobody wants him. Okay, now let's make sure that he still has. Oh my, he has a lot of interest. All right, that's cool. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can go to each individual team, which is what we're going to do, and we're going to offer a trade bid. But I'm going to do it with Vargas instead. And he should have just Portland. Yep, okay. So we're going to go in and initiate a trade with Portland. Now, if they would have sent an offer, then you could just go from there. Okay, we're going to go to player. And once again, I don't want to get rid of him. I got to find him here. Vargas. I don't want to get rid of Vargas. All right. We're going to go permanent. And we're going to just go suggest. And see what they say. All right, they've accepted a permanent slot for Vargas. Now, I want more. All right, this is where that little trick comes in. And I know some people are like, well, that's cheating, that's cheating. No, it's not, because in real life, you know, take Man City, for example. They want to buy a player from Colombia. All right, they offer 10 million, and they're like, oh, no, we want 50 million. And Man City comes back and says, how about 20 million? And they say, no, we want 40. Okay, it's the same thing here. All right. In real life, we would be sitting down in an office trying to, figure this out. But here we have to do it on the computer. So, withdraw the offer. We're going to go right back in and do it again. I already know that they'll accept a permanent slot, which is what I want. But I also want more. All right. International slot, we're going to go permanent. All right, we can throw in some draft picks if you want, but honestly, I don't really care about that. And we're going to go some general allocation money. All right, we're going to go, let's say, 250. And we're just going to see what happens. All right, they negotiated it, which is what that means is that they picked way too much. All right, or I picked way too much. All right, so we're going to withdraw the offer. And we're going to go back in here again. And you just kind of have to keep finagling it. Now, if they outright reject it, then you have to continue and you have to do it one more time. All right? But you kind of see where their limits are at. All right, we're going to go general allocation money. We're going to go 250 and see what happens. Okay, they've accepted that. All right. Now, that's not a bad little trade, honestly, because that permanent slot to me is more important than anything. I'm collecting them. Now, what I could do is I could come back in here and withdraw offer and try to increase that and get as much as I can. They didn't want a first round pick. Maybe I could go 400,000 and just see, how they feel about it. All right, but this is how you do, and then I just accept the bid or make the offer, and then the trade can go through. All right, that's pretty much how you can get rid of your players. They have to have a wanted tag. Now, you can always just come in here and pick a random player, and he's going to get very ticked off. I can tell you that. Offer to MLS clubs. And we're going to go 500 too. And he's probably going to get pissed off because I'm offering him. Yep, okay. Go in here. Yep, no offers for him. So there's no interest in him, so I can't trade him. Sometimes you can offer players out like that, and they'll have a bunch of interest, and then you can just go in and find which teams are interested and force a trade like I did. But don't be afraid to go in to as many teams as you can and offer and get the best deal. Austin might value Amane a lot more than Portland. All right, so just keep that in mind. It's better when you have more. The more teams you have, the better deal you're going to get. All right. But a lot of these teams don't have international slots, much less permanent ones, to give away. So that's one thing that I keep in mind is how I do my trades. Is I'm always going for the best deal I can get. And sometimes you have to force players or force these teams to accept the trades and to start the trades by you initiating them, if that makes sense. All right, so that pretty much takes care of trading. I'm not going to cover this anymore until next year, but if you do have questions, drop me some comments. I'll be more than happy to try to, help you out. All right, but stay tuned. I'm going to have more episodes or more videos attached to this one, so I'll be right back here in just a minute. All right, guys, this part is going to be talking about the designated player buy down. You are allowed to do this once a year. The restrictions apply where you have to currently have 3 designated players on your team signed already. So what that means is I currently have no more free designated player slots. All right, I want to sign a player. In this case, Eddie Salcedo, that I want to sign, but he would only come over on a designated player contract. Now, I know that this is happening in Football Manager and in real life, so I want you to know that too. I've talked about this a little bit, but I just wanted to go over it one more time. Okay, so I offered him a DP contract, and then I got an email that said, it hits a snag. After I accepted it and then it comes back and you continue, it hits a snag. It's telling me that I have no more slots available. Okay, now it also says that in order to complete the deal, I need to spend targeted allocation money to buy an existing player contract down to a senior contract. Okay, and trust me, I take advantages of this every year. I honestly do, by signing a young designated player, and I love it. Okay, but anyway, it said that the person that it's want me to buy the contract down is Eddie Salcedo, which it makes sense, and I will show you why. But first, I wanted to talk about it. I've already hit continue, and I forgot to record it until after I hit continued. But boom, it did it. It took away the money from my allocation fund, and now he's on the senior contract. So I'm going to show you what that means. Oh my, excuse me. Okay, designated contract. I have the 3, and the reason that it picked him was because of his money. All right, where is he at? What is going on? Why are all these players suddenly in my team? I don't get it. Okay, all the grayed out players. Probably because I don't have 30. That's why. That's fine. Okay, anyway, Salcedo. Oh, he's not on my team yet. Duh, he's still in the transfer. It's just so freaking crazy. But I offered him $696,000. And once again, the reason that it picked him is because these guys' salaries are higher. It takes the lowest salary to buy it down, if that makes sense. Okay, and I will show you what I'm talking about right here. Where's it at? Right here. Boom. Okay, I'm 676, not 696. Okay, it doesn't take effect until July. And I've worked all this out. Things are good. Now, the unusual thing is, by buying it down, when you offer players senior contracts, you don't get all these extra bonuses and clauses. You can for, I think it's important players or star players, I think you can, but not for regular starters. It doesn't allow you to do that. All right. But because it was a buy down, all this still remains intact. It's really, really crazy. And I had to offer him a lot of things. The main reason I tried to get him on a senior contract to begin with, he wouldn't want it because he wanted all these extra incentives that I couldn't do. That's why I had to do it on a DP. But once again, once a year, you're allowed to buy one down. But you're going to have to keep track of this because it doesn't tell you anywhere that you've already used it up. Okay? I did one in 2023, and now I'm doing one in 2024. I'll do one in 2025, and that's just how it works. Okay? Now, you're going to really run into a problem if you've already offered this or used this buy down, and now you're not going to be able to sign your player, and you have to withdraw your contract, and you're pretty much never going to be able to sign him again. All right? But I wanted to cover how to buy down the DP contract and what it entails in order to get that message to pop up. All right, you have to currently have 3 DPs already on your team, and you have to offer an incoming player a DP contract. All right, and you also have to have enough salary cap room. You have to have enough, just like you would if you're signing a player. You also have to have enough target allocation funds, which, let's be honest, everybody should. I still have $1.5 million available after I've used a lot of it. Now, next year, I am going to use more of it automatically. The game does it for you automatically at the start in January. I'm going to use a lot more because different fees associated with this last buy down and things like that. But, you can't control that. So anyhow, I still have my 3 DP slots. It's the original 3 players, so I'm really happy about that. So, but anyhow, I wanted to make sure you understood how to do this because I didn't really clarify it that well in the video, and I apologize for that. Next year tutorial is going to cover a lot more and more in depth, and I'll have better examples. But this was the first time doing it, so hopefully you're learning something. But anyway, thanks again, and stay tuned for some more. All right, guys, on this segment, I am going to talk about how to kind of force players into a different contract that they don't want. Okay, Enes Sali is going to be a stud. He's from Romania. He's going to be a really good player. He wanted a DP contract, and as I just showed you, I had to buy him down a DP contract. So obviously, I can't do that. Okay, now next year I can if I want to, but we'll talk about that later. Now, I wanted him on an under 22 contract. He initially wanted $196,000 on a DP contract. It would have been a young DP contract if I had the room. And he wanted all these extra incentives and bonuses and everything else. He wanted a yearly annual raise, and he had like 8 or 9 things on here. I couldn't do it, but I wanted to sign this player. So basically, it came down to I offered him $250,000. I offered him a $200,000 sign-on fee. He only wanted like $50,000, so I kept increasing everything and increasing it. And he started to budge a little bit on his increases and bonuses and stuff like that. But it finally came down to it. We're like, okay, it's either poop or get off the pot, right? So I had to exclude everything and offer him $250,000, offer him $200,000 on an under 22 initiative contract, and he took it. So I'm like, wow. So it doesn't always work, but his patience with the agent was really, really good. So that's another thing to take in consideration. It doesn't always work. But even now, I can show you, I couldn't offer him a senior contract because he just he wouldn't take it at all, and he was getting annoyed. So I went with under 22 because I do have a spot open, and he took it. So I'm extremely happy about that. All right, but I just wanted to show you that just because a player wants to set a certain contract doesn't mean you can't kind of finagle your way into giving them a different contract. It's the same way with signing players when you don't have that much money. You can offer them all these extra incentives and stuff, not really in the MLS, but in regular world football. But in this case, I managed to get what I wanted, the player I wanted, and I don't mind paying him $250,000 because, trust me, in a couple of years, he's going to want more anyway. And the reason I went only 3 years and didn't have an option to extend is because it's under 22. And remember my tutorial, he's 18. So in 3 years, he's going to be 21. So therefore, I can offer him an extended contract for another 3 years on the under 22 initiative program again because he's under 22. So that's why I went only 3 years, because I like to lock up my stars to 5 years if I can, or at least 4 years with an optional year signing. But you can't always do it. But anyhow, I just wanted to show you that you can sign players to different contracts and kind of force them into it by being kind of rough on them sometimes. But you have to make sure the patience of the agent, and he has great respect for me because I've used him with Popescu and different things like that. So it worked out great for me. Okay, but that's how you do that. I just wanted you to kind of show that and add it to my last video. So anyway, guys, that takes care of this, and thanks for watching.